and we'll have to keep each other honest about R4B.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, and then share screen. And make it full screen. I'll move this up here. Cool, that looks all right from your side?
Yeah, looks good. You're not looking at the camera.
Yeah, I just got a new computer, so it's a little wild.
Yeah, so now it looks like you're looking at the camera. And this should be me looking at the camera.
Okay, cool. So we'll get started in 5 seconds. I'll leave a little pause for them.
Okay.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody from Axonicom. Thanks to all the attendees for watching the next installment of Stories from the Frontline. We're here today with Michel Rondeau from Rogers, and we're really excited about sharing this story with you. It's a very exciting story from a very great and progressive organization. So today we're going to think about that forward-thinking vision. We're going to think about how Rogers engages the frontline in new and exciting ways, how disruption and change and transformation is very much top of mind in the telecom space. So Michel, thanks for joining us today. I know you're taking some time out of your busy schedule. So hello and welcome.
Yeah, happy to do it. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Excellent. So I figured we can start by introducing Rogers for our attendees. Maybe some in the US or some in international space may not know Rogers as well as we do here in Canada. So maybe I'll leave it for you, Michel, to sort of talk through what Rogers is all about and some of that background, and then perhaps getting more specifically into your team, the Rogers for Business customer service operations side.
Sure, yeah. So Rogers is a major telecommunications company in Canada and media company. It was founded in 1960 by Ted Rogers, and so this year is actually our 60-year anniversary, which is super exciting. We've got operations across the country and provide, wireless services, internet services, broadcast television, radio to Canadians from coast to coast. And then Rogers for Business, which is the division that I'm in, is specifically, the business to business arm of Rogers. So delivering business grade services to our customers, whether that's, managed internet or cloud services or, 5G, Internet of Things, productivity tools like Office 365. It's really kind of offering that full suite of business tools and services to business customers, from small all the way up to, your big banks and what have you. Customer service operations within Rogers for Business is, the operations team. They're the team that once a deal is signed, it gets handed off to customer service operations to implement. And once it's implemented, we also have the service team that will, handle any kind of requests that a customer may have during the tenure of their contract. We also have technical services or technical support, which is the team that, will help the customer out when things aren't going the way they should. If there's a technical issue on a kind of one-to-one basis, but also more broadly, if there's, outages and fiber cuts, they're involved in resolving that as quickly as possible for our customers as well.
Awesome. And, I would imagine there's some unique challenges around how training is done. It's a unique environment, the B2B space. So do you want to sort of talk about some of those differences? There's people from all walks of life likely watching the session. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, there are some unique challenges in the B2B telecom space. As you can imagine, it tends to be high complexity or high customization, low volume, compared to, say, the consumer side of the world, where things tend to be more standardized. And so you are able to have better training coverage on the consumer side because you're not having to cover as many kind of customized products or unique scenarios. or and your teams aren't quite necessarily as specialized, just given the nature of the work. And so, what that means for my team and for customer service operations or CSO, it means that um, we had a number of gaps that we needed to close and are working to close from a training perspective, simply because we didn't have a lot of formal training in place because of the nature of the work. And so when you think about that, and you think about the fact too that really the core function of CSO is to be serving our customers, we can't be taking people off the phones or away from serving our customers for lengthy amounts of time. The core job function really is to be there for our customers. And so when we were trying to determine how best to go about solving that issue, Axonify really was a key piece of solving that, and putting in place the foundation, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to really build out those role-specific learning journeys, to close the gaps on sort of our priority areas, but also progress, developing content for our business priorities as well.
Yeah, so high complexity, high levels of customization, lots of very specified roles that you need to train to. And add that to the telecom space, which is really, really dynamic and high paced. So that need for agility, I've heard you say in the past, is really, really key, because things are changing all the time and evolving, and your needs are evolving as an organization, which is incredibly cool.
For sure. Like anyone who is in telecommunications know that it's a very dynamic industry. It changes very quickly. And, as importantly, or perhaps more importantly, customer demands are escalating, because we're no longer, just in competition with each other. We're competing with the likes of Apple and Amazon and Google and what have you from a service perspective. Customers are experiencing these, really easy ways of doing business with some of these other organizations. And so the telcos really need to make sure that they're delivering an experience that really is easy for our customers and meets the escalated demands, their escalating demands.
Yeah, and I want to make sure to introduce you, Michelle, and your role. I know you've got a great experience in the telco space. So if you want to sort of spend a bit of time just introducing your specific role and how that fits within the broader picture, that'd be awesome.
For sure. So you can see my title there. I've been in telecom for 18 years, which is actually kind of scary to think about how quickly time goes by. And I've been with Rogers now for just over 2 years. And so my team is responsible for all things culture for customer service operations. So, the employee experience, team member engagement and employee recognition, that kind of thing, as well as building and reinforcing our customer-centric culture, leadership development, training, again, all things kind of related to building that high-performance culture that is centered around the customer is what my team is responsible for.
Cool. And, Rogers for Business has been a real catalyst as we strengthened our partnership with Rogers, being the first group that came on board. Do you want to tell a bit about that story of how you got started and, some of the key challenges there, because this is a new way, right? And we've been working with you for so long.
Yeah, for sure. So, Axonify really started in Rogers for Business as a small pilot with a subset of one of our teams, and people loved it. It was very successful. But as I mentioned, telecom changes a lot, and the organization was changing, as it needed to. And so it was a couple of years before we were really able to do a full launch within CSO to all 1,100 of our team members. When we launched it, it was really specifically around our customer experience framework. We needed, as I mentioned before, we're a customer service organization. We can't be taking lots of people off the queue or away from serving our customers to train them. And so we needed something that enabled us to deliver training, and specifically around our customer experience framework, in bite-sized chunks, but also in a way that would reinforce that learning. And that's exactly what Axonify does. So when we did the big launch, it was really around that customer experience framework, and that framework has evolved over time. We started really with, the what is this framework, and then evolved it to the how. So how do you apply this in customer interactions, but also interactions with each other. And so this customer experience framework really is the shared set of behaviors and language that we all kind of commit to with each other, and in terms of how we serve our customers. When I joined Rogers, it was kind of in late 2018, and had the opportunity not long after that to attend the Axonify conference. And that's where I kind of really realized the power of this tool, and that there was so much more that we could be doing with it to help solve other training issues, and indeed the sort of the training coverage issue that I talked about earlier, alluded to earlier. So the first thing that we did, guided learning was a new feature at that point, and I really wanted to change how we did onboarding. So there's a fantastic corporate onboarding that Rogers does for new external employees. It's a 2-day onboarding, and then that individual gets handed off to the business unit. And so it was really that individual business unit experience that was kind of disjointed for CSO. It wasn't available when folks needed it, so they didn't necessarily get to attend it right away when they joined. And the information that was delivered wasn't necessarily done in a consistent way. So I wanted to change that to have it kind of self-paced, available through Axonify, and cover content like who are the different teams within CSO, what are the products that our teams support, what are some of our engagement tools? Like, we have a platform that we use to set point-based recognition. What is that? How do you use it? What are some of our communications tools? Yammer as an example, which is our kind of internal social media site, and really kind of doing what I call a cultural onboarding. So that was our kind of first attempt, or first venture, I'll say, into separating Axonify from our customers, from being just about our customer experience framework, and realizing, I'll say, greater value for money, because as we added content, as we added learning, and used new features in Axonify, of course it didn't cost us any more money. This was all stuff that was part of our licensing costs. So let's see what else we can do, and it was successful. We were very happy with the results, and wanted to be able to then expand that to solve another piece of feedback that we'd been hearing quite a bit over the years, which was, I want content that's more custom to me, that's more tailored to me. And so rather than providing, generic, I'll say generic, a one size fits all scenario to all learners, how do we, bring it one level down or 2 levels down and make it more relevant? And to do that, we realized that guided learning had the ability to do that for us, or to help facilitate that. However, we needed the foundation in place, which meant that we had to completely restructure how our content was structured, our user lists, and so on and so forth. We spent a lot of time last year working with Axonify on getting that foundation in place to be able to, set up training essentially for our team for the next, for CSO for the next, I'll say 3 years. Now that that's in place, we're able to look at, say our priority gap areas. So one of our areas where we want to kind of, increase our training coverage is the technical teams. And so, we're in the process of chipping away at some of those gaps. And as content is developed, training is developed, we're able to facilitate it through Axonify. And I use the term facilitate very specifically because not all content can be or should be micro-learning. But Axonify has the ability to connect to and to point to other platforms. So maybe one of the things you need to do is, go take a LinkedIn learning course on, XYZ topic. You can create a task to go take that LinkedIn learning course. Maybe another topic is a 2-hour virtual instructor-led training. Well, you can manage that through events within Axonify to get people to sign up to it, and so on and so forth. So that foundation was super important for us to really move forward with our business objectives and priorities.
And I love that example and approach of sort of evolving your use of the platform. Like you said, you're leveraging the same license cost, you're utilizing more and more features and functionality to cover different needs, different use cases. I love that sort of chipping away approach, or what you mentioned there. I think that's really cool, and that's sort of that evolution of the customer journey that we love to see, right? And I know that Rogers for Business and your use of the platform, it comes to mind as, you know, one of those sustained and really successful rollouts of Axonify over the years too. So did you want to sort of speak about that engagement, because engagement is what allows you to sort of bring on these extra functionalities and features, because people have that regular habit. Like, how do your learners feel about it? And I know you can't share every, you know, result and impact, but I know we have a couple of different highlights that we can share here too.
Yeah, you're bang on, Josh. When you have a high level of engagement with the platform, it unlocks opportunities and abilities for you. And so, you know, as folks can see here, we have super high participation. We have really high frequency. You know, we set the expectation that people should log in 3 times a week. We have folks that are logging in, you know, 5 days, 7 days a week, and you know, really enjoy the gamification aspects of Axonify. And so what that's enabled for us is we've been able to make Axonify a key part of our comm strategy. You know, and not just through the ability for leaders to send messages to their team members in Axonify, but also thinking about, you know, broader program launches, or, you know, we even did something fun recently as a team building kind of activity. We did a, you know, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader scheduled exam in Axonify, and, you know, we knew that we would get participation and people would, you know, complete it, because we know that everyone's in Axonify quite a bit. But it's also used for, you know, other initiatives such as, you know, thinking about the evolution of our customer experience framework. Like, a key part of the comm strategy is to also leverage, you know, the broadcast message and video, you know, aspects that Axonify has to be able to communicate things to our team members. So there's that, but again, also knowing that this is the platform that everyone is in every day means that it was the right choice to be able to, it was the right choice of tool for us to be able to figure out, okay, what's that kind of foundational or, learning tool that's going to be, that's going to facilitate learning for our team members. So as I mentioned, not everything is housed in Axonify, but we know that we're able to point to other, like we have an LMS called Fast Track, where, you know, it would house our 30-minute web-based trainings, those kinds of things. We're able to point to that and know that people are going to go do that, because we know that they're in Axonify all the time.
That ecosystem approach, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And when we think about customer sat and our post-transactional survey results, I mean, though you look at those improvements, which are significant, you know, we really tie that to our customer experience framework. And so because we saw that success, it helped us, build on, we were able to build on that success and really kind of advocate for the value of this tool as a way for us to solve some business problems.
And I'd imagine it was positive, but how did the executive teams react when you start showing these impacts that are attributed to the learning efforts that you're putting in?
Well, I think that, people are excited, right? And when you look at, we're going to talk a little bit about where Axonify is with Rogers now. I mean, the use of the tool has expanded so much further than just customer service operations. So that in and of itself speaks to the faith and the credibility that the tool has within Rogers, and there's a lot of teams that either joined a few years ago just like we did, or are really now embarking on a journey. So Josh, we can maybe jump into that now if you want, but
I view the Rogers for Business use case. You started early, and it's really been a catalyst for more and more conversations and exposure within Rogers. So I think it's probably good timing. And it's the hard work of people like Ron Rout and Angel McFarlane and yourself, and the full team that's supporting Axonify, and we'll give some shout outs a bit later. But yeah, if you want to sort of talk about that growth throughout Rogers, I think it's a great time.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we did that initial pilot back in 2013, and people loved it. And then in 2017 is when we really did the full launch across all of customer service operations. But at the same time, the Soho team, which, just due to the nature of the type of work that they do, the types of customers that they support, it's a very kind of small end of business. We're also very excited about this tool, and also got on board. You can see they launched to 650 users back then, and are also huge advocates of the tool, and I know, advocated with other parts of the business as well. So,
yeah, a special shout out to Denise Haggy and Lorraine Williams for sure, because I know they've been right there as a catalyst as well. But yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And they love the platform. Right. And so now look at us in 2020. This is going across another 7,500 users, which is, quite significant on the consumer side. And I can't speak to specifically where they are in that journey, but just the fact that it, has now gone that far at Rogers. And I know that like our organizational development team is piloting it as well. I think just speaks to the credibility that it has within the organization. People believe in it.
And this opportunity to really get integrated with different tools, or explore how to make that ecosystem approach work, and work with HRIT and that kind of thing, right? It's been a super wonderful sort of move for sure.
Yeah, now we're in a place where we're able to have conversations around how do we best share content amongst each other. How will we best operate in this multi-tenant environment? What's the right, way to do that? And certainly looking forward to working with Axonify on best practices in that, because it's going to be really important to our success in the future. And, now that we have the scale that we have, I'm, really excited about, kind of, as you mentioned, some of the integration opportunities. So thinking about, SAP SuccessFactors as an example, which is where our other LMS is, the opportunity to integrate with that. And so that when somebody completes a 30-minute web-based training, rather than us having to manually do an update, at an area of interest or what have you, so that they get the reinforcement associated with that training, that it automatically trigger. I also, from a Rogers for Business perspective, I'm really excited about the possibility of linking Axonify into Salesforce, because Salesforce is our, one-stop shop for our Rogers for Business teams. And, to have, somebody log in and have their regular Salesforce landing page, but then a second tab, that's their Axonify, will again, I think, help drive further engagement and participation, but will just help kind of fully integrate it into our ecosystem and really make it part of everyone's day-to-day.
Yeah, and with the consumer care group in implementation, as well as the retail and channel marketing group coming on board, we're super excited to see what happens in the partnership. We've got a lot of different conversations going on, and I love seeing that spark or catalyst with that initial pilot way back, right? And the hard work that your team does, and then Soho, and then the teams that are in implementation now. It's super exciting to see, and it just goes to show you, once we start to see proven results that we can measure, and we prove out the process, there's a lot of opportunity to make an impact and be part of that integrated sort of ecosystem approach for learning. Absolutely. Cool. And so do you want to speak a bit about what makes you the most excited? Because, we talked a bit about an evolution of the use of different functionalities. There's lots of things that likely are being spoken about throughout the conference, right? So what are those things and that get you excited about new features? And, where do you see that process going for Rogers for Business?
Yeah, one of the features that we're starting to dip our toes in, and it's maybe not a brand new feature, but it's pretty new to us, is impact. And so we started to dip our toe in that, and I'm really excited about being able to build out kind of a robust implementation of it, so that we're more easily able to communicate, well, understand and communicate the impact that training has on business results, because more and more that's an important part of the conversation. And I think also helps us with focusing our activities. So really excited about that. We've been using Content Marketplace way more than we have this year. And I think a big piece of that is the excellent content that Axonify has been putting out, in particular related to COVID. Things like work from home best practices, or how to cope with difficult situations. We've really been able to capitalize upon that. And then I saw yesterday when I was looking at Content Marketplace that there's a new video or new micro learning on laundry tags, which I think is super interesting. Maybe not totally relevant for my team, but I think could be useful for some people.
That's useful for me. I know my wife is very interested in me knowing how to properly wash certain types of clothes. So that's a funny one. I actually didn't know about that one. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but joking aside, I'm always really excited to see the updated product roadmap that Axonify comes out with. I think that's the beauty of this platform, is that there's continuous improvement, right? There's always new features being added, and sometimes it's small things like formatting in a broadcast message, but it's things that help elevate the experience and that make lives easier for our team members, our administrators, and ultimately deliver an elevated experience. So that's something that I really appreciate about the platform, and about the very kind of customer-centric approach that I think Axonify takes in really, adding value to their customers, based on feedback, based on, data, and just really trying to make the platform the best that it can be.
Well, I think that's a two-way street too. And I know a number of features and functionality have been shaped by the work from you, Michelle, and Angel, and Azim, and Gowinder, and Jane, and Ron Rout, and his support at the executive level, right? It's a two-way street, and the reason that we generally, the product team and the development team hit the mark so well with new features is because of the hard work and feedback from partners like you. So we really appreciate that. And, we really are excited about the growth in the future, for sure, and seeing you utilize these features and functionality more and more, and help us just get better and better, right?
Great.
Michelle, anything else you wanted to add before we close off and let these fine people on their way?
No, I think that really covers it. As I mentioned, thanks so much for this opportunity, and I absolutely love working with Axonify. I've had the opportunity to work with yourself, Josh, and Greg, and Whitney, and Brandon, and it's just always so great to work with a team that is really focused on the customer experience. So thank you.
Always look forward to our chats there, Michelle. It doesn't always have to be fireside, but yeah, thanks so much for taking the time, and yeah, I'm sure we'll be chatting soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, Josh. Have a great conference, everyone.
Everybody.